Hey there, we are here on the steps of the Palais Brongniart as the Paris Peace Forum gets underway, and I'm with Ginny Badanes, who is the Senior Director of Microsoft's Democracy Forward initiative.
That's right.
It's really great to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome to Paris. I know you just got in today.
Yes, it's lovely. It's been raining.
It has been raining. It rains
now
and then it's beautiful.
Now it's nice.
So, among the many topics that are going to be addressed over the next couple of days, cybersecurity is a big one. We're going to talk specifically about technology for election integrity. I know that Microsoft just recently put out a list of new initiatives to protect elections. Here's a fun fact that I actually learned reading your report. Over the course of the next 14 months, 2 billion people will have an opportunity to vote in their national elections. Of course, that includes the United States, which the whole world has its eye on, India, the EU Parliament, Taiwan. So there are some major races that are happening around the world. Let's begin by having you assess for us the threat landscape and why Microsoft and others are so concerned.
Sure. Yeah, these are huge, consequential, nationwide elections for parliaments, for president. That's a really big deal. And so as we look at the threat landscape, particularly what we think nation states are likely to do, what we've seen them do in previous cycles, and then given the stakes of this cycle amid all of the wars that we're seeing in conflicts, we're pretty sure we're going to see adversarial behavior. We're trying to assess what that might look like. We've put some reports out with both reflections on what it's been in previous cycles and what we think it's going to look like. We think that we're likely to see Russia, of course, because of their interest in Ukraine. We think they're likely to both influence on the influence side, but potentially go after traditional cyber attacks as well, and then also hybrid attacks, meaning it is likely that they will both go after the information environment and try and change people's minds or influence the way they're thinking in many of these elections, but also potentially hack into different systems. So we're looking at that, and then there are also other adversaries. You can't overlook what Iran might do. They've interfered in previous elections before. They're likely to do it again. So that's the environment that we're going into. Global conflict, high stakes for these nation states, and the likelihood that they're going to interfere.
Now, election interference is not something new in the sense that in 2016, the Russians had tried to interfere with the US election. Canada has accused China of interfering with its elections. Is there something that makes this moment different and perhaps more precarious?
Sure, well, propaganda has existed since information has, right? So technology always has a way of extending propaganda in new and different ways, like newspaper, printing press. Like those are all traditional examples. Right now, we are in a moment, though, where a new technology is emerging, generative AI, and there are a lot of concerns about what that is going to mean, particularly for information operations. How will adversaries use AI to create deep fakes? What's the impact that will have on an election? How will they use AI to improve phishing emails in order to have greater success at cyber attacks? So it is unprecedented, not only the moment we're in when it comes to elections, but also the new technology that's emerging at the same time.
So as we speak, there is a bill on the table in Congress to protect elections from fakes, AI fakes, basically. My question is, how do you discern the difference between an intentional fake to interfere with an election and satire, parody? There are free speech issues involved here too.
So I'll start by saying there is no one solution to deepfakes, and any panel you're at or conversation you hear, if anyone says this is how you solve it, they're not telling you the full story. We think that there's a four-pronged approach to how you can overcome deepfakes, or at least mitigate it so it's a risk that is manageable as a society. First is labeling and watermarking. That means when Microsoft creates images on Bing Image Creator that is generative AI, we label it using content provenance standards that says this was created by generative AI. Labeling is important. It's also important to have provenance. That enables the person who created a piece of content, authentic content, to say this is mine, I created it, and to attach information to it in a way that is hard to manipulate. And then there's also going to be the ability to actually identify when a deepfake has been used. These are harder technologies because as the technology advances, so does the detection technology and therefore the adversarial technology. But it is an important factor. And then finally is literacy efforts. We need people to understand that they can ask questions of the information that they see. They can look at a video and say, where did this come from? But they need the tools to do that. So that's more how we think about deepfakes. Now, we do think legislation is an important piece of this. And in the particular legislation you're referring to, which we've endorsed, is a bill by Klobuchar and Hawley, which is an interesting pairing. It's a bipartisan bill that says when deepfakes or manipulative AI is used in the course of an election within a political advertisement, so by another campaign, that they cannot do that. That is not legal if they're misrepresenting. So that removes the satire, that removes the freedom of speech of those around them, and it just says in this specific case we think that harm goes too far.
So tell me a little bit about exactly what Microsoft is rolling out ahead of 2024, and just give us a brief sense of what new tools you're bringing to the game.
Yeah, the first thing that we're doing is putting out something called content credentials as a service, and that's for political campaigns. And that goes to the idea of them being able to authenticate that the media they're creating is their own. And so we're giving them the ability to attach these things called content credentials to their images and videos. We think that's an important step. We're also endorsing legislation. We'll continue to look at other legislation around the world, and if we find something that fits what we're trying to advocate for, we'll endorse that as well. We're also creating an elections communication hub. We think it's important that these election officials around the world, particularly those using our products, know how to find us if something goes wrong. And so we're streamlining those communications with them. Those are the key things that we're rolling out, but that's not it. We will do more. We'll continue to work in this space. That's just how we're really getting started.
Final question. A very alarming Gallup survey was recently released about trust in media, which is really hitting all-time lows, at least in the United States, but I think it's safe to say globally. In what ways can technology help people find trusted media sources?
Yeah, we're concerned about that too. We have a whole program within our journalism initiative that is focused on this issue. In many ways, we think that technology has undermined a lot of both the business model of journalism and also in many ways enhanced the challenge that comes with trust in news. So the way that we're approaching it, and it's just a piece of the puzzle, because there's a lot that the media needs to do on this too, but one way that we're approaching it is when someone is searching for information, say about elections, we will work with the actual authority on those elections to surface that information to them. And then we'll also work with other organizations who we know are doing credentialing searches of journalism organizations to just confirm that they abide by basic principles. They print corrections, they include bylines. These are fundamental things, has nothing to do with opinions or where they stand left or right or wherever on an aisle. It's more that they say we stand by these kinds of principles and we publish to them. I think the more that we have those kinds of indicators of trust, the more likely it is that people, as they're consuming information, will stop and pause and ask, where is this coming from?
Not as though we needed more to worry about as 2024 approaches, but it is going to be a huge year for elections globally. Ginny Badanes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So good to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.